because I'm dealing with a personal issue, and now all of a sudden this thing just got blown out with women fighting the attractive.
You talk about personal issues. I may have quite a few of them once we get off the air myself.
Okay, back to Todd Frazier.
Yeah.
Stop it, Nash. You're killing me over here.
You know what?
My God.
Toughness I have, how much I can take anything. By the way, it's really hard to bring me down. It just is. But Todd Frazier, the new member of the Chicago White Sox. Look, you take a look on the north side, the Chicago Cubs here. And this is a team that's stacked with a lineup that they are looking for the Chicago Cubs to at least end the 71-year drought of not getting into the World Series and then eventually win it, hopefully, which will be 108 years heading into 2016. What the White Sox are doing has to do, I highly believe here, definitely with the pressure that the Cubs have, the pressure that the Cubs have applied. Because the Cubs, look, they made some good deals during the offseason, during these winter meetings. John Lackey, coming from the St. Louis Cardinals. Jason Hayward, coming from the St. Louis Cardinals. Ben Zobrist, coming from the World Series champion Kansas City Royals. The Cubs, this is a ball club that has definitely added on to their talent. And we talk about John Lackey. I know you got Jake Arrieta, and I'm expecting Jake Arrieta good things next year. Wherever he repeats what he did last year, I just don't know. It's going to be very difficult. The one guy I'm expecting good things from next year, definitely John Lester. Because John Lester, new culture, new environment, first year at the Chicago Cubs, first year at the National League. I'm expecting some pretty darn good things next year from John Lester. But the White Sox, they know in terms of the Chicago baseball popularity that they need to stack up on this talent. And you know what? You have Jose Abreu, who's entering his third season, Rookie of the Year from a couple years ago. I know. John Lester is awesome. I wholeheartedly agree. I thought, as opposed to last year, to our caller from Winchester, New York, I would assume, because 914 is from New York, that John Lester has been awesome. We saw it with the Boston Red Sox. We even saw it with the Oakland A's in the run in 2014 that the A's had going to the playoffs. But the thing is, John Lester, I just thought we've seen better from him in years past. Decent. I'm not going to say it was a complete disaster. It was not a complete disaster from John Lester. But I think 1 year with the Chicago Cubs, 1 year with this young ball club, 1 year with Joe Madden, I think John Lester is going to have a pretty solid kick. You know what season in 2016. You just wait. But that's what the White Sox have to do. They have to stack talent. By the way, how shocked were you, Sean, that Todd Frazier went to the White Sox? Because when I saw this, my mouth was dropping, just like seeing these ladies here and their photos that they have sent your direction. Now, stay on topic here. Stay on topic. Please stay on topic.
All right. I will stay on topic here, buddy. You know what? For me, the way I look at it and the way I view it, kind of surprised, kind of shocked, but the White Sox are wanting to compete with the Royals because I still say if I look at the American League Central, the Royals are still the team to beat in that American League Central. And then, of course, we have to figure out other scenarios. What is it good for the Cincinnati Reds? Is it good for the Los Angeles Dodgers? How does that affect those two teams?
Well, as far as Cincinnati, I think they need better pitching. Listen, if you can get some better pitching and give up on Todd Frazier to somebody else, I think that's more important because we have seen that if you're going to build yourself as a postseason ball club, and being a Cub fan that I am, I clearly saw from the New York Mets in the National League playoffs, the divisional series against the Dodgers, certainly in the NLCS against the Cubs, that you have to have quality pitching to, if not win the World Series, at least have a deep postseason run that's going to get you into the World Series. I can't stress this. Pitching is the foundation of it all. So I think that's the key here for Cincinnati, is to get the quality pitching and build from there. But you're right about the White Sox. I mean, this is going to be a tough division because, listen, the Kansas City Royals, they got their young core back. All of a sudden, we're considering Kansas City a threat in the American League Central, which you go back as early as 5 years ago, you didn't think it was highly possible.
Yeah, you didn't even,
Royals,
it's
playoffs?
You know what? The way I view it with the Royals is that, 5 years ago, they were not the team that everybody expected them to be. Everybody said that this team is bad, they're a fluke, they're a joke, they'll never be a winning organization. And then, the great George Brett basically what he ended up doing is that, he said, kind of as like the ambassador to the Royals, because he really, really is the ambassador to the Kansas City Royals. I can tell you this, with him being kind of like the ambassador, I remember the one playing game against Oakland. He said going back to 2013 when the team went 85-77, he felt like that was finally the turning point for this team. And the Royals definitely were. You know what? When you look at the Royals, they surprised people in 2014.
Yes, they did.
What I'm getting at is because nobody picked them. Nobody picked them to be team to represent the American League.
Did
Nobody picked them. No.
I'm sure you didn't. I didn't because you know what? 2014, I was still in awe of the Detroit Tigers and the starting pitching they had. Obviously, Max Scherzer was there at the time. Justin Verlander was truly Justin Verlander then. I was, and also the lineup on paper seemed to be better. I was in terms of picking who was going to win that division and maybe represent the American League in the World Series. I thought it was going to be the Detroit Tigers. I mean, the Kansas City Royals in the playoffs, not the World Series, but the playoffs. You never thought that. But here's the thing. All right, we got to get to a break here in a couple minutes, but I'll say this about the Kansas City Royals. What I've liked about them, and this is what the Chicago Cubs, and I'm not trying to be biased here, but the Chicago Cubs are doing it the way the Kansas City Royals are doing. Prominently building from within the minor league system. I think, and I talked about this on the show last week, the days of signing all of these big free agents to multi-million-dollar contracts, multi-years, multi-million dollars, I think it's overlooked. The key is draft well, build for your minor league system, sign players along the way, build them through your minor league system, bring them to the majors, develop them, and guess what? See what they can do. And what we've seen from the Kansas City Royals, opposite of what the New York Yankees have done traditionally, the proof's in the pudding. Kansas City, small market, not a lot of free agents, young talent, developed through the minor league system, rose through the ranks. Definitely, that's been a big core in terms of trying to build arena. All right, why don't we take a break and we're going to come back with our final segment. And Sean, this final segment. I want to talk about really the team that you consider to be the biggest threat in the NBA, and it's not the Golden State Warriors. We're going to talk about that when we come back from our commercial timeout. Hop on the bus with us. Hop on the big cruiser because you are driving down the Sports Drive. You are cruising down the Sports Drive here on Sports Radio.
Time for commercials. If you listen hard enough, you might hear the subliminal messages telling you to buy whatever we're selling.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Also on the web at carsforkids.com. That's Cars with a K. We're a recognized 501c3 charity organization, so you'll receive a maximum tax deduction. What's more, you'll receive a free vacation voucher of 3 days and 2 nights.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Are you looking for the web's best sports news? Visit jockjournal.com. Sports media has lost its touch. It seems that journalists are scared to report what they see, in fear of losing access to the teams they cover. At jockjournal.com, you get inside information on the entire NFL community without all the politics or fears other writers have. That's jockjournal.com. When you need the NFL sports news, information, opinions, fantasy football, or discussions, there is only one place to go, and it's jockjournal.com.
You are listening to Jock Journal Radio. News, opinion, and discussion for all you jock stars.
Support for this show comes from Material. Material is a simple and intuitive e-commerce platform that lets you get your online store started without paying a dime. That's right. No ads, no setup costs, no transaction fees. Experience a fresh and easy new way to sell online by signing up at Material.com today.
Welcome back to the Sports Drive, where we give you sports radio that doesn't suck.
I think that I've become a little bit
obsessed
with sports.
Final 19 minutes here of cruising down the Sports Drive here on Jock Journal Radio. Frank Sprankle, and the biggest Christmas gift wish for many women in 2015. That would be Sean Mann. Ash Carey behind the glass working the boards.
God.
Indeed, that you are. Hey, I got a good idea. Sean, I got a good idea. Sean, why don't we move on and let you speak, and many women will like it. And certainly, I think a lot of women in this one particular NBA city will like. It's about the team that you think is. Listen, you don't think the Golden State Warriors are the best team in the NBA. I mean, record-wise, they are, but you don't think they're the best team in the NBA.
25-1. The Warriors are this team that we all expected, wondering, would this be the team to repeat? Would they be the same? I didn't rule them out. I thought, here's this team that's so young to beat. And they're already getting prepared for the revenge against the Milwaukee Bucks on Friday because they know that they really wanted to beat Milwaukee so bad to keep their long, active winning streak alive. Last night, they got back to the winning ways, with winning their game against the Phoenix Suns. But, like I've said all along, if there is one team out there that could really give the Golden State Warriors a fight, that would be the San Antonio Spurs. And rest of the West, I don't think so. Because when you look at the rest, let me try this again. When you look at the rest of the Western Conference, it just seems to me like a fluke. San Antonio has got a long, active home winning streak. They destroyed the Washington Wizards last night down in the Alamo City. So the way I look at it, Frank, is I think Golden State and San Antonio, I'm saying it now like I did a few weeks ago, that it looks to me, in my opinion, that those two teams will be matching up in the Western Conference Finals. I think that's going to be definitely the pick, and that's the way I see it and I view it.
Well, as far as the talent goes, listen, the Golden State Warriors 25-1, and they crushed Phoenix Suns last night at home. And very nice to see how the ovation was for the Golden State Warriors coming back from this long road trip, losing their first game of the season at the tail end to the Milwaukee Bucks. Great to see Golden State come home and get the ovation that they did. But Golden State, I do believe, is the better team of the two as opposed to the San Antonio Spurs, and here's why. We had a question, as good as the Golden State Warriors were to get to the NBA Finals and beat the Cleveland Cavaliers for the NBA title, what type of a title hangover would that bring? Because, let's face it, Sean, sometimes there is that title hangover. Now, perhaps it has to do with maybe the short rest. Perhaps. I think the short rest plays more of a factor in the NHL because the NBA Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals coincide at the same time, but the NHL season starts before the NBA season. So what I'm thinking here is that the Golden State Warriors are a team very much mature, light years ahead of any young team that wins an NBA title, with Steph Curry, with Klay Thompson, and, of course, Luke Walton, who has done – well, Luke Walton, I'd have to say, has done a fine job, but this team has responded well to their interim head coach, and Steve Kerr will be coming back at some point. This team here – go ahead.
Luke Walton has done a great job as interim coach.
He has.
Mm-hmm. And the way I look at it is that, and the way I view it, and I look at this, is once Steve Kerr gets back, Warriors are just fine. They're just fine. They're going to be all right. And, of course, Golden State and San Antonio, I think, is what everybody will be anticipating. Because Greg Popovich knows, Tim Duncan knows, Manu Ginobili knows, Tony Parker knows that this might be the last run for the San Antonio Spurs. They're realizing that this is a veteran team. This is a team that's getting up there in age, not knowing, that they're going to start preparing themselves for rebuilding. And Tim Duncan, an incredible resume that he has with 5 NBA championships. 5. You can't take that away from him.
And here's another thing too, Sean. You're talking about this team getting older. Once this team is ready to disassemble and go their separate ways, retire, rebuild with a new core, There's another guy that's going to leave too. I'm pretty sure of this. And